Hello, everyone, and welcome into episode number 4 of Ryan and Megan. We are two traveling physical therapists who have been traveling since 2020 and now travel with our two young daughters. We have an 18-month-old and then a two-week-old baby, so a brand new baby. But today, what we're going to be talking about is how to travel as a team, which is something we've done for a while now.
Yes, and we're outside today because it's just so gorgeous. Had to switch it up.
So before we hop into it, if you could, please leave us a review on wherever you're listening to this podcast. That really helps us with getting this podcast out there to other people. And if you're watching here on YouTube, consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel. Again, that just helps us promote more of this content out to people who are interested in this travel lifestyle.
So today we are talking about traveling as a team, and we thought we would touch on this because we get a lot of questions about what it's like. Is it possible? Am I going to be able to find two jobs? What's the timeline? Stuff like that. So we thought we would just start this episode off kind of with a review of how it has been for us traveling as a team.
So we've been traveling as a team since we graduated physical therapy school. We got married in physical therapy school and have been traveling as a team ever since.
Mm-hmm.
But you can travel as a team whether you're married, not married, whether you want to go with a friend. Maybe you want to go with your spouse who is in a different profession than you.
Or who isn't even in the healthcare profession as well.
Yeah, with
right?
all the remote travelers nowadays.
Yeah. So for us, we are both physical therapists traveling together. And when we first started traveling, there was kind of a down, like a slump in the travel market. So it was kind of challenging to find jobs anyway. And we were able to find two jobs. I think it was like a search of like 2 or 3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, I think we had 3 weeks total we had to wait as new grads. And that was right when 2020, when COVID was really hitting hard. And so all the travel jobs just tanked off. But it took us about 3 weeks of waiting.
So from our experience, that first time we were looking for jobs, it took about 3 weeks for us to find two jobs together. But that is as a new grad and like I said, with a slump in the market. So that's really not that bad as far as how long you have to wait for two jobs to show up together. And that's a question we kind of get a lot is like, are we going to be waiting a long time? And am I going to be out of work for a long time while I'm looking for a job? But that was our first time experience. And then ever since then, we've been able to find jobs together and go right into the next one at the pace that we want to. So sometimes that means back to back. Sometimes that has meant taking some time off in between for different trips or holidays and stuff like that. But we've never been, waiting on the other person to be able to take two jobs together.
Yeah, obviously we can't predict the job market and that ebbs and flows, especially, like when we started, when COVID was just launching in 2020, it was definitely very different. But we can definitely say that since we started traveling, after that we got that first contract, we would have had no issues working back to back to back contracts. And we even did that for a few where like we finished up a travel contract on a Friday, we moved during the Saturday, Sunday weekend, and then we were starting on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't had too much of an issue. The only other thing that I would say is that there's different logistics as you travel as a team. And during our first contract, Megan's assignment actually got ended early. And so she was ended about a month early before mine did. For us, it was just us two, so it didn't really matter too much. I just worked and Megan stayed home. But that is a possibility where one of you's contracts get cut short, and then you kind of got to figure out what are you going to do. And then the other thing would be when we went to Arizona, again, this was like the height of COVID. That was our second travel contract. I ended up finding a job. We were kind of looking for one, but we were really specific on we wanted to be in Arizona for the winter because we had our RV. We needed to be south. So we were kind of really working our recruiters hard and saying, hey, this is the area we want to be. And they could only find us one job kind of in that area. And so we went ahead and it was in a great area. And I think if we would have waited, we could have found 2 jobs somewhere, but we liked the area so much that we decided, well, Ryan, you just keep working. So I took the job, and then we'll see if we can
Have
get
fun with
Megan one in the area.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was kind of a choice on our part to be in a very specific spot and just go ahead and take that one job. And then I hopped on like a couple weeks later to the job. But
Yeah.
that's our experience traveling as a team. We're both physical therapists. So that's the perspective that we're coming from. But it's been relatively easy to find 2 jobs together
Right.
for us.
And obviously it's definitely easier to find one job if you're a solo traveler compared to finding a team job, because when you find a team job, those jobs don't necessarily have to be at the same location. Now, for us, since we're both physical therapists, we've worked multiple times at the same home health company, at the same hospital, skilled nursing facility. So it's possibility, even if you're like a part of the allied professions, right? If you're a physical therapist, and occupational therapist, there's sometimes they need both a PT and OT at the place. And so we've worked at the same facility, but you do not have to be able to travel as a team. You can just get jobs that are in a commutable distance. And we've
Right.
done that a lot too, to where maybe where we're working is about 30 minutes apart, or maybe an hour apart even is probably the furthest we would go. But we live in the middle, so then we have like a 30-minute commute either way.
Yeah. And that's kind of one of the first questions we wanted to answer was what is the likelihood of finding 2 contracts in the same area? And that's how we approach it is we always just look for 2 jobs that are within a commutable distance. And that's really not too bad, not too hard to do. And we have gotten those questions. If you travel together, are you always working in the same facility? And actually, we have worked for the same company, but we've been in home health settings, so we've never worked in like the same clinic together. But we've seen multiple jobs with listings for multiple therapists where you would be working in the same clinic. So it just depends on what you find. And that is something that we always check before we like interview or before we take the job is there housing in between these 2 locations? What would our commutes look like? Those are just questions that you have to ask before you sign on the dotted line that you're going to take a job.
Right. And just probably those are extra logistics that if you're a solo traveler, you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
You're just like, well, I'm going to find housing around this one job. I don't have to worry about another job being in this certain radius. So those are some logistics to consider if you're going to be traveling as a team.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing we would say is, are you both able to use the same travel company? And we would say
Half the time.
most of the time, yes. So we work with multiple travel companies. Now since we're both physical therapists, we kind of work in their therapy department. And so our recruiter is the same recruiter, and then she goes and tries to find us 2 PT jobs. And a lot of times she's looking for, even if it's not at the same facility, 2 that are close, but we're going to take it through that travel company. So they might even be at different facilities. Say I'm working for a hospital, you're working home health, but it's all through the same travel company. So you can definitely work with the same travel company as a team.
Yeah, I think it's always worked out for us that way where one travel company has 2 jobs. But this is another reason why we do have multiple recruiters that we work with, just in case for some reason they didn't have a second one in that area. You could go talk to another recruiter and say, hey, my travel partner is looking at a job here. Is there anything that you have in the area? Now, we haven't had to do that, and I think that would take a lot more work as far as the communication between your 2 recruiters and yourselves and the interviews to set up. I think it would be a little bit more, work to do that, but it's definitely possible, and that's why you've got multiple people there on your team.
Right. There'd be a lot more communication you'd have to have with your recruiter, between your 2 recruiters. So a lot of times we try to stick with the same travel company. But that being said, if you were an interdisciplinary team, you might have to lean on that a little bit more, especially if you're like a physical therapist and a nurse.
Yeah. Most of the travel recruiting companies that we use and work with have both departments. They'll have like an allied department for PT, OT, and speech, and then like a nursing side. And so those recruiters are always different, but working for the same company. So
Right.
If you're like a team, like a nurse and a PT, you might have different recruiters, but still be able to work with.
Within the same travel company.
Yep.
Not all travel companies have a nursing and therapy department, but majority of the big ones do. And they're usually pretty upfront if they're like, nope, we're therapy only, or no, we're nursing only. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a company that has both departments. You could have a therapy only travel company that you work with, and then your spouse or your significant other or friend be a nurse that works with a nursing only department. And then again, you're just going to have to have that communication between you guys and their recruiters saying like, okay, we want to be near this area. This is where the job is for my friend. I travel with my friend. Find me something close.
Yeah.
Just communication is really key.
Yeah. I think if I were trying to think of like high likelihood places to have multiple jobs, like multiple therapy jobs or interdisciplinary, I would think of cities, maybe not like city hubs, but towns that have multiple healthcare facilities in them.
Yeah, I would call them secondary cities. So,
Yeah.
everyone wants to go
to the big cities.
the big cities. Yeah, everyone wants to go to Austin, Texas. Everyone wants to go to LA, San Francisco, and there might be travel jobs there, but a lot of times it's like those secondary cities outside of San Francisco that is still really big, and they have multiple hospitals, outpatient places, skilled nursing facilities. Usually those will have multiple jobs within the same location.
Yeah. So I would say those types of places are good to look. There's always a lot of jobs in California. I feel like there's always a lot of jobs in like Pennsylvania and Virginia. I don't know, just random from experience.
It ebbs and flows for sure. And if you're a nurse, a lot of times you're going to be in the hospital primarily. And what's nice is that usually they have multiple floors you can work on, but you're still in this big hospital system because the bigger hospitals, well, any hospital is just needing nurses. And so those jobs seem to be a little bit more abundant right now. Definitely, you can use the same recruiter. I don't know. I can't remember if we went over that, but we use the same recruiter as a team. So we work with 4 different recruiters, and all 4 of them work with us. It is not just like I work with 4 and Megan works with 4. We work with 4 recruiters together. So when we get on the phone with our recruiter, it's both of us on speakerphone with that recruiter. So I think I needed to make that a little clear.
I think the next question is about contract lengths, like lining up your contract with your partner's contract.
Oh, right. Are they the same length? Is that ever an issue? If you're a nurse and you're an allied health professional, are they the same? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So with all travel contracts, they typically start at a standard 13-week length. This is totally negotiable. It can be shorter, it can be longer, but typically that is like the default length for a contract is 13 weeks, just because that's like a business quarter or something fancy like that. So throughout all travel contracts, that's basically what you're going to be looking at. But the start date is something that can be negotiated when you're talking about, hey, I would love to come here. I would love to start at this date. Or if one person is able to start earlier than the other, you could extend the other person's,
Right. You could negotiate your end date to where you and your friend who you're traveling with both end at the same time or start at the same time. So those start dates and end dates are negotiable. That negotiation usually happens after you've done your interview with the facility. They're like, yes, we would like you to take this job. And then you're really considering it, but you got to work out those contract details. That's when you work out those contract details with your recruiter on, hey, I can get there at this time with my friend. And
usually that's always been approved. Like if you are interviewing for a place that needs somebody ASAP, obviously they want you as soon as possible. So you can't be pushing your date back by weeks and weeks and weeks. But that's something you kind of go into the interview knowing. But we've never had issues with like figuring out a start date that works for us.
Right. Yeah. Usually they're very lenient, again, within a time frame that's respectful to them. And so we've never been like, well, we'll start in 2 months when my friend can get there. It's always been, hey, we might not see you next week, but the following week we're going to be there on Monday. And so negotiate that. That's always really good, which so you can line up so you can travel with a friend or with your significant other. The next thing is, can you travel? And we've touched on this a little bit, but can you travel as a therapist, nurse, and with someone who's not in the healthcare profession? And so you can definitely travel with your significant other or friend that's a remote worker. Ever since COVID happened, it seems like there's more people working from home and able to take their work with them on the road. And so we've seen a lot more people hop into the travel lifestyle because now their spouse can go because they work from a computer. And so that's definitely possible. Doesn't really change anything. You would kind of act like a solo traveler, and then there might be some details that you might have to look into, whether it's like make sure you have internet for your spouse,
Yep.
those type of things. Make sure they're not just out in the middle of nowhere, while they're working, housing. So maybe some stuff like that. But as for like finding a job, it would operate a little bit more like a solo traveler.
Yeah, it would be pretty fairly easy. And kind of talking about traveling with another person if you're not married, that's kind of a little bonus perk with splitting rent. Because if you're hanging out with a friend on the road, you can rent a place together, still pay your share, and that's still like a fair market price if you were to split rent, anywhere else. Well, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, a lot of different housing options out there for teams, whether it's renting a room in a house, renting an apartment together, whatever it might be. Our next thing we always like to touch on when you're traveling as a team, again, we've not had too much issues finding a job, but you just never know how the job market's going to ebb and flow. And so we always recommend any travelers, but especially teams, have a fully funded emergency fund. We always say about 2 to 6 months worth of expenses, save somewhere that you can get to quickly, just in case if you're really holding out for 2 jobs in a certain area or the market takes a dip, you have some breathing room financially to kind of weather maybe some unexpected time off and take advantage of that too.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to say it's kind of a part of the lifestyle of traveling is there is a lot of uncertainty. You don't know if you're going to have a job in the future, technically, because your contract is going to end in 3 months. And that is just the nature of the job. So having an emergency fund as a safety net can help you not be so nervous about getting your next job and help you enjoy the whole process more because there are so many perks. One of the perks is being able to spend less time working and making more money. So if you can take some of that money and put it towards the security blanket, then you can really just spend time enjoying all the new places that you go see,
Right. You're saying you're prepared for the opportunity of maybe not getting a job right after your last contract and say, instead of freaking out, oh my gosh, I haven't been working for 2 weeks, you really take advantage of that and you're like, I'm looking for a job. I think,
I ended my last job in Colorado, so I'm going to go ski for 2 weeks or something.
Right. You have the financial security now to go explore a little bit with a little bit of unexpected vacation time. Yes, it's unpaid. Yes, during that time, you're going to be talking with your recruiters and interviewing for other possible jobs, but it's not this freak out moment.
I think that's a good staple for anybody traveling, teams, individuals.
Yeah.
It's just makes it all more enjoyable.
I think another piece of advice, not on the financial side, but more on the emotional side, when you're traveling with another person, you got to understand the travel therapy lifestyle is constant change. And so you need to really give that person a lot of grace, and they need to give you a lot of grace back. And why we say that is because, you're going to be moving to a new area every 3 months. You're going to be living in a new place every 3 months. You're going to be meeting new co-workers, a new work environment, possibly a new setting you're going to be working in. Everything around you is in constant change. And so that can be kind of a toll on a relationship, on a friendship. So you really want to give each other plenty of grace. And so, when one person's maybe a little stressed out, you can be like, hey, I get it. There's a lot of change going on. I understand why you're kind of stressing out. Is there anything we can do to kind of maybe de-stress? Let's go for a walk. Let's go exercise. Let's eat some good food. Let's go have some fun.
Or just remind them that it's normal and that it's okay to
Yeah, it's okay to freak out when
a little bit.
when everything is changing so much. It's kind of, especially those first few weeks of a travel contract,
Mm-hmm.
they always seem to be like you're trying to find your groove in this new place and your new workflow. And that can be kind of some high stressed areas. Usually after those first 2 or 3 weeks, then you kind of get back into a flow and this kind of becomes your new normal. And you both feel a whole lot better. And
Mm-hmm.
so just giving each other grace during that period of time when it's a little bit hectic and you're trying to find yourself.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Anything else about traveling as a team?
No, I don't think I have anything else. Traveling a team, obviously, we're pro traveling as a team.
Mhm.
That's all we really know. We would say, even if you're a solo person out there, traveling's great, and so just go do it however you can. But if
Mhm.
you do have the opportunity to travel with a friend, to travel with a significant other, then it's a lot of fun because you get to bring a buddy with you, and now on those days that you're not working, you can go explore with them, and that's always it's always really nice because sometimes it's hard to make friends on the road because you really got to put yourself out there with coworkers and kind of invite yourself to a few things. Maybe use different apps like the MedVenture app where you can meet up with other travelers. It just takes a little bit more work on the solo part of it to
Yeah.
make friends, but with a team, you have a built-in friend, and then it's always easier to like go to events with someone than showing up on your own. So
Mhm.
if you can travel with a friend, then go for it.
Yeah, especially if you've been, kind of in school together and you don't have any ties. Time to go just have fun
Yeah, go have
for a little
fun.
bit. Check out the world.
Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over kind of what we've been up to. But before we hop into that, as always, if you are interested in this travel lifestyle and you need a good travel recruiter, make sure you get a recommended recruiter. As always, we don't mind giving our personal recruiters that we work with out to you guys. Just send us an email at ryanandmegano'Rear.com or send us a direct message on Instagram. Even down in the description of this video or podcast, there will be a form you can fill out so we get to know you a little bit better with those questions so we can pair you with one of our recruiters that we think you best fit with.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
And our email is ryanandmegano'Rear@gmail.com. We
at
forgot the
gmail.com.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
What have we been up to recently?
Well, I'm going into my final week of being off since we just had a baby. So I had
Yes.
2 weeks off if you've been listening to the podcast. So today is Thursday, and then we're heading into the Labor Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very enjoyable to
Yeah,
be.
this has been like one of those perks of being a travel therapist and taking time off
Yeah, you can
when you
take
need it.
you can take time when you need it. Now, obviously, my time off is unpaid, so I'm not getting paid right now. But we have financially prepared for this. We knew that when Lainey came into the world, I wanted to be home so I could help Megan, could spend that quality time with Lainey, could help out with Reagan, our other daughter.
I need it.
And it's been really amazing. But that got me thinking about when we first started traveling and took extended time off. It's really something you got to get used to. You got to practice it, which sounds so odd, because most people are like, well, I can vacation with the best of them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about me. Not working is no problem. And maybe there's some people out there that's true. Maybe you're naturally able to relax a little bit more than I am. But it really does take some time where those first few days you feel pretty good, but then usually it's like around day 3 or 4 where you're kind of like, oh man, I'm so used to go work 9 to 5 that now that I have all this ample time off to do really whatever I want with it, whether that's productive or unproductive, you feel kind of discombobulated. And so it takes a lot of practice. This is my second time doing this with a baby, so it feels a little better than the first time. I think the first time I felt like I had to do a bunch of housework just to keep myself busy and productive. Haven't had to necessarily feel that way.
Yeah.
And then also, when we first started taking time off, we would take, maybe like extended weekends, maybe like 1 week. And then eventually we got into a few weeks, a month. And again, it just takes a little practice. Wouldn't you think so?
Yeah, I think, well, especially for Ryan over here, he is Mr. like productive, always thinking, always working. So it's very hard for you to relax. But I think as a whole idea, of just having extra time off to do what you want. We're not used to, as a society, being able to do that. And so, yeah, I think even outside of having children, where it kind of forces your hand on like, oh, I should probably take time off for this because it's a big life change. Outside of that situation, if you're just a traveler, you are going to have the opportunity, most likely, to just take some time off, and that is a very foreign idea to many, many people. But take advantage of it, because we're not meant, I believe work is good. Work is a good thing. It's good to put yourself towards something and be productive. But we're not meant to just work our whole lives away.
Well, I think society, especially in the American context, we're always taught work, 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 and then work some more on top of that. I remember coming out of PT school and basically being told, you're going to be the best physical therapist ever by working 40 hours during the week, and then during the weekend, go work at like a skilled nursing facility on top of that. That's how you make your money.
Or go take more courses.
And go take more courses. And if you're into that, then cool. And so, but that's what we're taught. And so it's very foreign to us to say, you know what, I'm going to take an extra week off.
Voluntarily just going to take time off.
I'm not going to start my contract for another week, and I'm going to take my time, driving.
A lot of people will wonder what the heck you're doing. They'll be like, what? You're not going straight into work? Like, you're taking 2 weeks off just because? That's what?
Yeah, a lot of people, because that's what they're doing. They're working the 9 to 5. They're working 40 hours or more a week. And so when they see you like, wait, you haven't been working for the past 2 weeks, that's so foreign to them. That's so unconventional. And a lot about this lifestyle is unconventional.
Yeah.
And we're kind of here to say that's okay. And sometimes it takes practice in the unconventional to feel somewhat okay with it.
Yeah.
It always feels a little weird because no one else around you is doing it. But we're here to tell you that the unconventional is totally okay, because the conventional is still there to go back to.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been I've been really, really thankful that Ryan is home, because it is a big transition to go from 1 to 2 and so close in age. So it's been great. It's been a lot of fun to have time together and time with the family. And that's why we're doing this, is so that we can have time together like we're having this past 2 weeks. So
yes,
very thankful for it. And then in other news, besides you being off work, we today actually just went and picked up our RV from the repair shop. So
yeah, it's been in the repair shop for, I don't know, months now.
I don't know if we've talked about it.
3 or 4 months.
Yeah, we bought a brand new RV knowing that Lainey was on the way and wanting to have enough space for our whole family to travel comfortably in the future. And we really love the RV, but we took a couple trips this summer and the main AC was not working, which is just not okay.
Which is not ideal. Especially when we were using it in the Midwest.
And in Texas.
And in Texas. In the Midwest and Texas, you got to have AC during the summer.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We've just been talking, well, it just cooled down today. That's why we're outside. But we've been talking about how nobody wants to camp in the summer in Missouri. You don't want to be outside.
Yeah.
In the fall, yeah, that's okay.
Fall, it's beautiful here.
But otherwise, you need AC and you need to just stay inside. Your camper.
So we have 2 AC units on our RV. One of the AC units in the back bunk room was working, so we were like halfway working AC. We'd take fans and try to blow it into the main cab living, but we needed to get a new AC unit. It took forever for Dometic to send the AC unit to the repair shop, but they finally sent it. They put it on there. The repair place has communicated wonderfully. And then we also had something fixed on our water heater, and but it's ready to go. We just took it back to our storage space, and hopefully fall comes in strong so we can go out and do some camping maybe this fall before we winterize it. Our hope is to stay in our Sticks and Bricks home, in our tax home, for at least 6 months. My contract is ending in November here, so we'll have to figure out what's going to go on with that. So who knows, we might be breaking out the RV a little earlier than expected. But our hope is that I can get something in the area, and then we'll hit the road probably February or March,
Mm-hmm.
if everything's going good, obviously, in our new RV.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy to think about.
So crazy.
So before we close out today's episode, we do want to mention that we have a website, RyanandMeganO'Rear.com. Yeah, that's
Yes.
our website. It has a lot of our resources there. It's kind of the main central hub for all of our resources, our videos, different articles, stuff like that. So if you're interested in more information, go check it out. We would love to see you there.
Yeah. So going into our next segment, our last segment, Megan, what has been poopy?
Oh, man. You know, I didn't even prepare for this at all. I forgot that I was going to be asked this question. Lack of sleep and always feeling tired. You know?
Yeah, we've been hitting the iced coffee pretty hard all day, injecting it into our veins. We're just trying to keep our levels high,
Naps don't even help,
No, they make it worse, really. We try to sleep during the day because we know we won't sleep during night. It makes it worse, I think.
Yes, maybe the midday naps is what's keeping us alive. Who knows? But I always wake up feeling just as tired, if not more tired. So I don't think they work. That's why we're doing this right now, because I was like, a nap is not going to make me feel any better. Let's just get this podcast out.
Usually we record after all the girls are asleep, which really that's usually when little Lainey wants to wake up. But we do it late at night. And so today it was a beautiful day out.
Yes.
We wanted to record outside.
That's my good.
Oh, that's your good. Yeah. What's your good?
Yeah. My good is the weather. I was just telling Ryan, I totally am not a summer gal. I mean, the fun of the summer, yes, is fun, but the heat is mostly miserable and I don't want to be outside. And the mosquitoes eat me alive, especially being pregnant. I think extra blood, it's horrible. So the temperature finally dropped. The humidity has dissipated and I'm feeling alive inside again, besides the tiredness.
You guys, she was over in the garage dusting off her autumn sign that says autumn on it. It's like August still.
It's ready to go.
She's ready to put that thing out there on the front
Day.
porch with some pumpkins. She is ready. We've been drinking pumpkin spice latte for the past 2 weeks.
We have.
Oh, man.
We haven't been putting any fall scents out, no pre-decorating, but just ready for it to feel like fall. Ryan, what's good?
What's been good?
Did you think about it beforehand?
No.
Yeah.
So, no, I have. What's been good is getting to be at home. I've been able to work on a little bit of more content for us.
See, here's that workaholic coming out.
Yeah, I am very much a workaholic, but just trying to get better ways that we can get content out to you guys. And, when you work 40 hours a week, it's sometimes hard to record a podcast, to do a vlog, to write an article. And so it's been nice to kind of be home and kind of get some things that needed some updating, like on our website, on our Instagram, just so it can be we can be more efficient to help you guys kind of learn about this travel lifestyle and then hopefully take the steps to become travelers. And I really appreciate, we've had really great comments on our podcast since we just started this podcast. And that's really awesome because sometimes we make content, we make a video, and we just get crickets. We don't get many people saying anything to us, or maybe they say something mean to us, which is even worse. And so it's kind of hard to stay motivated sometimes on still producing this stuff. But when we have such great comments like you guys have had these past few weeks, that really boosts our morale. And so I thank you for that. You people who have sent us direct messages, thank you. People who have interacted with our content and given us ideas for podcast ideas. Again, I just thank you. That really kind of boosts our self-esteem and makes us feel like we're doing this still for a purpose and that we truly are helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been my good.
Aww, that's so sweet.
I know, so sentimental.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I hate to bring it down with what's been poopy after that.
I do not have anything that's been real poopy that's going to really bring other people down, but it might give you a laugh. My bowels have been poopy.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what it's been. I think it's been the huge amount of iced coffee I've been drinking, but my literal life has been poopy.
You know what doesn't make sense, though, is you have been home. We have not been eating out. You know, when you're on the road, he's working home health. So if he doesn't pack a lunch, he's just eating whatever's out there on the side of the road, you know, that fast food stuff.
Yeah, we've had people bring us nice homemade meals every night. It's
maybe you're just accustomed to the fast food life.
Yeah, maybe. No, I really don't eat too much fast food. Really, what I fall into, the habit is
fasting and not eating.
Yeah, I'll have a coffee in the morning, and then I'm such a workaholic, I got to work on something. Then I head to my actual therapy job, and I'm doing home health. I'm running around seeing patients. I might eat like a cheese stick around lunch, and then I'm just starving when I get home. So maybe it's just my body's not used to actually food in
That's probably
in my system. But anyway, so life's been a little poopy, so hopefully that gave you a little smile.
Yeah, nice.
Because it has not been giving me a smile. Well, that's it from us this time. Hopefully the podcast was good out here outside. Thank you again for watching. Consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our YouTube channel, or again, leaving us a review anywhere where you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, until next time.
See ya.